Everyone, it's Kirsten, and I was too lazy to write out my race report, so I'm doing a video. So I just completed the HITS Triathlon series, the race in Ocala, Florida. I did the full distance, so an Ironman distance triathlon. And I really wasn't planning on doing an Ironman at the beginning of the year. I signed up for the half, and then one day while I was swimming, I decided, well, I'm doing 50 marathons in 50 states thing. And I was thinking, man, I wish there was a marathon when I was going to be in Florida. And I couldn't find one. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to up it to the full so I can bang out my marathon so I could check it off for Florida. So I decided to do that. I changed my race entry to the full. And that was about 6 weeks ago. So I wasn't really planning or trained to do an Ironman. So I just bumped up my biking and just went out for a long training day. So I wasn't expecting too much. I didn't want to get stressed about it or anything, so I actually didn't even show up to the race until race morning, and which made me a little nervous the night before because I'd never done that. I always, checked in the day before, or we had to drop our bike off, but they had a little bit of race day morning check-in. So I drove 90 minutes from the Disney resort where I was staying with my husband, and decided to do went out that morning. So that was really fun. So I arrived about 30 minutes before the transition closed, and it's really easy with the HIT series because they have individual bike places, and they each have a bench and a bucket and lots of room for things, and your name and number are already on there. So they make it really, really simple. I highly recommend, if you want to do any distance triathlon, definitely check out the HIT series. I've been really impressed with them, all the races I've done with them so far. So anyway, it's about 20 till transition's closing. We're heading out to the lake, and it starts pouring down rain, and it's pitch black. So, and, it's fine with us. We're all in wetsuits, so we weren't cold or anything from the rain, but it was still really, really dark, and we couldn't see anything. So the race did not start at 7 because it was still pitch black. The race started at about 10 after, which was no big deal. It was still raining a little bit, but nobody could really see the buoys, so we just kind of started swimming. So I get to the first buoy to adjust my goggles and wipe off the fog from the inside, and my lens pops out. And I go to reach, I feel around in the water, but it's pitch black and it's a clear lens. So I lost my lens. So I have goggles without a lens. So I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. But I was just out there to have a fun, long training day, and I wasn't that worried. I'm not afraid of the water. I'm a pretty decent swimmer. So I swam over to the kayaker and asked him if he had an extra pair of goggles. He said no. So about 100 yards away was another kayaker. I kind of did head out of the water, some breaststroke. Over to him. He said no. So I figured none of the kayakers are going to have goggles. The swim was a 2-loop swim, and the half distance people were starting with the full. So tons of people were passing me, but I was like, what can I do? So I swam about every 10 strokes. I would kind of look up and do a couple breaststrokes to get my bearings straight because it was so dark still. And so anyway, I get to, after the first loop, the half people exited and they swam to the shore. We just kept going in the water. So I just swam over to the shore, maybe 50 meters, and asked everyone who was finishing if I could borrow their goggles. So this lady let me borrow her goggles. Thank you so much. That was so awesome. It totally saved me. So I wore her goggles. I did the second loop. I think I sprinted that whole 2,000 because I was just like, I just wanted to catch up. I didn't want to, like I said, I wasn't going for, a race or time, but I'm a decent swimmer, and I wanted to take advantage of that. So sprinted the whole second loop. Got out, finished. I didn't wear my watch, so I didn't know what my times were. But I thought maybe 5 minutes slower than normal, so about an hour 5 is what I was imagining. But I felt like, there's so many people in front of me. So I get out of the water, and the announcer's like, oh, this is the first female for the full. So I was like, oh, sweet. So I felt really good about that, and found out my time was 1:03, which is only a few minutes slower than what it normally is. So I was very, very happy with that. Took my time in transition. Everything was soaking wet. And I put on my compression socks. They were actually easier to put on because they were wet, so they were all stretchy. So I wrung them out, slid them on. My transition time, I think, was 4:22 or 4:23. Headed out on my bike, and it was still raining at this point, and I'm a little timid on the bike. I broke my collarbone last year crashing on my bike, so I'm still a little timid. So I was a little nervous about the rain, but the course is pretty flat, so it wasn't like we were going down any big hills, or there was, I think, 9 turns. It was a out and back, There's 9 turns each out and then 9 turns each back, and they were only 90-degree turns, so it wasn't too bad. So for the first couple hours, it was pretty wet, but I felt pretty good. I was just kind of taking my time and just tucked down an arrow, just doing what I could do. So again, I wasn't wearing a watch, so I didn't know how I did, but up until about 95 miles, I was feeling really, really good. So I was really happy with that. The last 15 miles or so were hard, but I think it's always hard. That's a long way to go on your bike. And I'd only done one longish ride outside, and that was I did 55 miles. But it took me 5 hours because it was a really, really windy day that day, and it was at Lake Mead, so it was pretty hilly. So I got 5 hours on the bike, so in training. So it felt really good. Again, I didn't know my time, but when I finished, only 2 women passed me on the bike, so that felt good. I felt like I did pretty well. And when I finished, I went to go text my husband and my mom and my friend Wendy just to let them know I was headed out on the run. So I glanced at the time on my phone and realized that my bike time was around 6 hours. So I was really happy with that. Ended up being 5:57, which is my best time for a bike time in the Ironman. So super happy with that. And I did a little calculation, and I thought, if I can keep it under 12-minute miles on the run, then I'm going to PR. So that got me really excited. My transition was, I think, about 2.5 minutes, and I went out on the run. The run was 4 loops. It was a loop in the woods on dirt, and then a loop's kind of figure 8, a loop in the woods on the dirt, and then an out and back on the road, and you repeated that 4 times. So it's kind of fun to see people the whole time, knowing what we were going to expect. A couple teeny tiny inclines, but pretty flat run. The ride, a couple teeny tiny inclines, but not too bad. So the first 12 to 14 miles I did really well, kind of, doing the shuffle along. I didn't have my watch, so I didn't know my time. But about mile 14, I started getting really tired. And I was taking a lot of electrolytes and stuff because I'd never done a race where it was this humid. And I was a little nervous because I was feeling crampy. So lots of electrolytes, lots of fluid. I didn't eat anything on the bike for the first time. I didn't eat anything on the run for the first time. And I felt really, really good during the race. I just got really sick after. And I was really sick all day yesterday too. So, but anyway, so I just kept thinking, again, I didn't know the time, but I kept thinking, you know what, if you just keep running more than you're walking. So, you do the head games, run 300 steps, walk 100 steps, whatever. Walked up the little hills, always ran the downhill, trying to keep going. And I crossed the finish line. It was exactly 12 hours. And so I got my best time ever in an Ironman. My fastest time before that was 12:14, and that was in 2001. And I've been trying to beat that. This is my 9th Ironman, and I've been trying to beat that since 2001. And I finally did. I'm really, really happy that I did. And like I said, I didn't eat anything during the race, which I think I'm not going to do that again because I was really, really sick after I threw up all the way home. I had a 90-minute drive home. I was throwing up all the way home and was sick the whole next day. And I think it's because I didn't have any food in me. I was just taking all these electrolytes and sugar. So I am going to eat a little bit for my my next race that I have. But I loved the race. The race, I would totally do it again. The race director's so awesome. He stood there the whole time cheering everyone on by name. Every time I went by, he's like, Kirsten, 2 more loops. Like, he was just great. So I'd highly recommend any of the hit series to anyone. And it was a nice course, not hilly at all. Couple inclines, couple declines, but like very, very gradual. And I had a great day. The weather was absolutely perfect. It rained on and off a little bit during the day, but it stayed cloudy, so it kept the sun down because the temperature was maybe 75. So with the sun out, it would have been a little warm, but it was actually perfect day. So anyway, that is my race report. I hope that you guys go out and do the race. It was really great, and I will talk to you later.